Good evening, everyone. Well, I got to say, it's great to see this place so packed. I don't remember the last time we were lined up outside so much. So I'm going to turn this off. Little deja vu there. All right. Where is it? Right there. All right, my apologies, everyone. Okay, some housekeeping first. This hybrid meeting is being held in person here in council chambers and electronically in accordance with section 238, subsection 3.3 of the Municipal Act and section 16.6.24 of the City of Woodstock Procedure Bylaw. This meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube channel, and a recording will be posted on the city's website following the meeting. The meeting will also be broadcast on Rogers TV. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the Agendas, Meetings, and Minutes page of the city's website. Councillors attending virtually will be raising their hands in view of the webcam when moving a motion, requesting to speak, and when a vote is being taken. If a member of council is disconnected or having technical difficulties, we will take a recess in order to attempt to rectify the issue. If technical difficulties exist that prevent the meeting from continuing, the meeting will be adjourned and reconvened at a later time. If a councillor attending virtually needs to leave the meeting at any time, they're requested to inform the clerk. And tonight, Councillor Kate Leatherborough will read the resolutions. So let's get in it. We certainly have a full agenda tonight. So without further delay, no closed meeting, any disclosures of conflict of interest? Councillor Schanberg?
Yes, I declare a conflict of interest with item number 8A. That's a delegation as I continue to hold a taxi license in the city of Woodstock.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lauder?
Thank you. I declare the following potential and direct pecuniary interest. Agenda item number 9E and 18I. Subject matter ZN 8-22-18. Application for zone change 785 Southwood Way, Oxford County, and bylaw number 9564-22. General nature of this interest is due to my position as the director of the Woodstock Nonprofit Housing Board. I have an indirect pecuniary interest for this application.
Thank you. Any others? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. Matters arising from the minutes and the minutes. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lauder, that the minutes of the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on November 17th, 2022, and the minutes of the special capital budget meeting held on November 22nd, 2022 be adopted.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns, discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Additions to the agenda. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lauder, that the following items be added to the agenda. Delegations 8F, Joseph Burbine, SB 21-10-8, and ZN 8-21-19, application for draft plan of subdivision and zone change. Delegation 8G, Don Lazbenzi, SB 21-10-8 and ZN 8-21-19, application for draft plan of subdivision and zone change. Delegation 8H, J. McGuffin, traffic impact study, SB 21-10-8 and ZN 8-21-19, application for draft plan of subdivision and zone change. Delegation 8I, Cheryl McKnight, Zen Ed 8-21-18, application for zone change, 816 Devonshire Ave. Correspondence item 10C, the Oxford Coalition for Social Justice, Museum Square benches. Correspondence item 10D, Social Planning Council Oxford, Museum Square benches. Correspondence item 10E, Sam Zabian, Museum Square benches. Correspondence item 10F, Brett Reed, Museum Square benches. Correspondence item 10G, John Wolf, Museum Square benches. Correspondence item 10H, various downtown businesses, museum square benches.
Thank you very much. Okay, go along to presentations. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, oops, there you go. Looking for a vote on that. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, thank you. All right, delegations, and I do believe our first one is virtually 8A. Elliot Akbar, ride-on approval for operation of the city of Woodstock. Can I have somebody make the motion? Yeah, we're gonna wait to the end. You're right. Go ahead. Sorry, Mr. Akbar, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone and council. This is Ali Akbar. I would like to share my screen if that is okay, that I can show my presentation. Okay, the agenda for today is I will be giving you the introduction to Ride on Canada, business overview, over servicing and pricing, the city of Woodstock introduction, and then final the conclusion. Ride on Canada is based out of Waterloo. We were established on March 16, 2017, with our initial offering to do the beta testing in the city. And after the successful testing, we launched the services in 2021 after acquiring all the legal permits and insurance in place. Our mission and values are to provide Canadians with the affordable and a higher convenience options for travel. So our values are safety is our priority, and then we believe in the care of our community. We share love and respect. So this platform basically connects the drivers and the riders through the use of their smartphone. There are two options available. One is on demand and one is book for later for reservations. Riders can calculate the estimated time of arrival for the drivers, and they can track the geolocation through the GPS. The platform is accessible through our website. Anyone can go on the website and book a ride from there, and also through the Google Play Store and Android Store. So currently we are operating in the region of Waterloo. Recently, we got the permits from City of Guelph and City of London, and we are at the final stages of getting our permit from the Greater Sudbury. So our services, we offer two type of services with 5-seat sedan option and the 7-seat SUV or van options. So the operation through the app works when a driver logged in as become available. Passenger requests for the driver services. Driver accept the request, pick up the passenger, drop off, and that's how the whole transaction completed. So this is a quick snapshot of our pricing. On average, we charge roughly around 17 cents per minute and approximately 90 cents per kilometer. There is a $3.50 tech fee, which is to access this technology platform. And then there's a flat fee of $5 cancellation fee. Competitive advantages we have, we are the local, we have higher payouts for our driving partners and affordable rates for the riders. Why the city of Woodstock? According to 2021 census of population by Stats Canada, Woodstock had a population of approximately 17,000. We feel that this is an untapped market where we can offer our services first to be offered our services in the market. So I will be ending my presentation with the conclusion about if we will be provided with the opportunity, it will make the transportation option more affordable and convenient for the city and the surrounding areas. And it will also benefit the resident as well as open the doors for more innovating offering and services to improve among the existing transportation service provider. That's all, Council, from my side. If you guys have any questions, you are welcome to.
Thank you, Mr. Akbar.
Welcome.
Any questions of council for the delegation? No, okay. All right, seeing none, we'll move along to Chris Eby, Community Free Table. Thank you very much, Mr. Akbar.
You're welcome. Thank you. That's all.
First of all, congratulations to all you new councilors and our new mayor. Community Free Table is taking on a bit of a different look. The one that's there now will be run more by Rotary than by me. But having said that, I will be hopefully in the new year, very shortly in the new year, starting another one in one evening a week for an hour or so. One of our counselors, one of our great sponsors now, and hopefully they'll continue on. And thank you for speaking. We would invite all of you counselors at some point to come and help us at either table. And Deb Tate and Connie Lauder know that in July, Carol Johnson and I were in front of County Council, and County Council gave us their blessing and their approval to start what we're going to call the Oxford County Food Gap Store. Mayor Peterson right now has a small food bank in his mother's basement, and he wants to be able to complement his food bank and our store with things that we will have that they don't that he can't supply. I've already talked to the health unit, Southwest Health Unit, and they're on board with us. So that's coming. We've been fortunate enough to get a construction trailer from Jared Van Rooney Construction to fix up a little bit and get the store going. It's not a hand out, it's a hand up. As you know, homelessness is becoming a very, very big factor here in Woodstock. But our idea with the food gap store is that we're going to make people responsible. They're gonna have to first of all pay $10 a month to be able to shop 2 days a month to help out people like Mrs. Ledenbrower with Operation Sharing Board and Salvation Army to stretch their groceries a little farther. They're also going to be asked to volunteer, and we're going to expect them on the day that they want to volunteer to be there. And in that sense, to be able to get them back doing a little bit of work, sweeping the parking lot, pick up cigarette butts downtown, who knows? But getting them to do something and eventually getting them back to a normal life and to a working relationship, a house and a place to live, and also working in the community full time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eby. Any questions while he's up there? No, seeing none? Okay, thank you very much. Now I'll ask Mr. Hilderly to come forward for update on Southgate Center expansion. Welcome.
Thank you. Mayor Accioni, members of council, and city staff. Thanks for the opportunity to bring you an update on Southgate Center's expansion and our corresponding fundraising efforts. We are very pleased to announce as of today, we have raised a total of $1.15 million, thereby fulfilling our $1 million commitment to the city for capital construction, and now financing the much needed chattels required for us to continue our successful business plan. We gratefully thank all of our donors for this speedy and generous support. Together, we are creating a positive and long-serving facility for our 50+ age adult programming and for the hundreds plus organizations that want to host community-based events, meetings, and celebrations. It will become the destination of choice for individuals and families to celebrate weddings, birthdays, and anniversaries. These rentals and the catering opportunities are the basis for Southgate Center to economically exist. Special thanks to city staff, David Creary, Brian Connors, Harold DeHaan, Craig Wallace, and Lorraine Neal for their consultation and support with our architects, A+ Link Architecture Incorporated. Thanks also to the architects Mike Holt and Bella Manglalan for their careful planning and guidance as we move forward in this process. It's very exciting to finally see the initial stages of the expansion in a tangible form. The recent soil sampling, site measurements, and parking designs are a real testament that we are moving forward on a project that has been 10 years in the making. And once again, we want to thank the city for their support.
Thank you. Any questions of council? All right, seeing
Thank you
none.
very
Thank
much.
you very much. This time I'll ask Fidel Zabian for Museum Square benches.
We're not all as tall as Dave. Let's see if I can read off my script here. I hate reading off script, but good evening, councilors, mayor, city officials. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. I don't let me talk about myself, but I think it's important in this scenario here. So I've been an educator for 23 years at both the university and college level. I have a very strong background in public policy and public administration and constitutional affairs. I've been teaching business entrepreneurship. Closer? Okay, sorry. I've been teaching in business and entrepreneurship, and I've also taught law enforcement for the past 20 years. And I've been involved with public policy at all three levels of governments for the past 20 years too. And I've been a rug rat working downtown for probably 45 years now. So I've been down here all the time. So I'm coming here to you today as an independent business, representing a family business that's been here for over 45 years. I really believe any decisions that are made to affect us, there should be a voice, or we should be invited to the table, consulted about these issues. Now, I know for a fact a lot of business owners feel the same way as me, because I took 1 hour break last week. I walked around randomly. I didn't pick anything. If people were busy, I didn't go into the store. And I got 60 people to sign a letter asking for a deferral. Of those 60 people, 50 said yes. 3 said, I'd like to see the benches in there now, but not yet. And 7 said to me, well, Fidel, I don't want to get involved in this because I have a business. So no problem. Attached in your agenda today, you'll see most of those letters there. Okay. And we can't make this a pro bench or an anti-bench thing. Okay. That's not what it is. All right. We're just asking for consultation. We're just asking, defer it. Come and talk to us if you really care about what downtown feels. And let's make a decision where we can bring things back right, bring it permanently, and make the downtown a better place for everybody. That's all we're simply asking. At the end of the day, I just want to ask you a few simple questions. I'm going to ask you to think about them too, from your perspective. And whatever your answers are, totally respectful. And most of these are hypotheticals. How would you feel if somebody came to build a 10-story building in front of your house without you being consulted? Tell me, how would you feel if they went through this decision and you didn't know until after the fact? Not everybody is tech savvy, goes on the internet, so on and so forth, okay? To get their information. What if then you were only consulted after the fact that your input didn't matter and wouldn't make a difference? How would you feel? Hypothetically, some might respond, well, hey, Fidel, you know what? When the benches were taken out, they didn't talk to anybody. Categorically false. And I'm just going to leave it at that. If you believe that, you really need to do some legwork for the past 2 years. So whatever happens tonight, it doesn't matter. I know you respect me, I respect you, and I know that we all have best for downtown. No two ways about that. But what would happen if we waited and talked to the primary stakeholders? Okay? Do the benches really need to be in tomorrow, December the 16th? Is something going to happen if we don't do that, if we delay it? Is there some kind of catastrophic repercussion that I don't know about? We talk about inclusiveness. We talk about getting everybody involved. Come on, if you're going to use these words, stand behind them. Don't just say them. 2 simple questions I asked. Not one response that I have, well, maybe one, but I didn't have many direct responses. There was a lot of deflection that we used to do when I used to work for one of the national parties in Ottawa. The motion says, let's bring the benches back and let's look at them again 6 months down the road. When we get to 6 months down the road, we're going to have another battle here saying, okay, what should be the criteria to use to bring the benches in, maintain them, or take them out? No, that's not the way you do things. We don't need to set up a fight, and it's not a fight, and it shouldn't be. There's no criteria there. So I'm gonna ask city councils here right before me publicly, and I'm gonna give you also a promise from me in a moment. But if you really care about inclusiveness for everybody, especially the downtown merchants that not only pay taxes, but we pay a BIA levy too that not a lot of people know about. Like this is my backyard. It's been my backyard for 45 years. I care about what happens here and I always have, as many of you do too. Let's come back with a motion and include all those things. Talk to the business owners, talk to the landowners, talk to whoever you want, but get everybody here. I always tell my students speed kills. And happens to be a lot. I do things, I eat a lot of crow, it tastes good. So at the end of the day, I'm asking you to work together to find a solution that helps everybody. Be inclusive. We as merchants and landowners deserve to not be shut out. And we have been shut out. No ifs, ands, or but. And if you don't think so, come and talk to me. Let's talk about it. I'll leave you with this. If you really care about downtown, if you want people outside of Woodstock to say this is a great place to come and open a business, which it is, city staff is amazing and have been and always will be. What kind of message do you want to send? Do you want to support us and say, hey, you know what? We need to talk to them? Or do you want to say, no, we don't care what you have to say? Because that's what's happened. That's how I feel. And that's how many people feel. Be inclusive. Talk to everybody. It doesn't have to be the anti or pro bench. It's about including everybody. Okay, so this decision is going to tell everybody where you sit on this agenda. Thank you, everybody, for the time.
Thank you. Any questions of the delegation? Counselor Tate.
Through the chair, Fidel, thank you for coming forward. I wasn't on the BIA, Councillor Talbot was the BIA rep. So I know there was a lot of discussions with the BIA and it was 2 years in the making before we decided to take the benches out. But I just want to clarify for everybody, and so people are aware of how much work the BIA did. The reason it took so long for the decision is because everybody was concerned on how to help the people that were there. So the biggest discussion was, how are we going to help those people? And a facility or a home or whatever, that's where the research went in. Now, talking to Councillor Talbot at the time, it seemed it was coming from the BI. There was a lot of concern. So I think there's been a little bit of misconception that you're after just yourself, but I think the most important issue was that the downtown merchants were concerned with helping the people in the area and how to get help for them, not just to take the benches out, but how to get help for them. Is that not correct?
I agree with that. We did, and I'm going to speak on behalf of myself as a member of the BIA board, not for the board. Okay, so let me make this clear to everybody. But I saw and I helped and worked with everybody else about, look, we went through 2 years of bad times, COVID and everything, and we did everything we could. We spent money on social media. We saw what we could do to reverse the negative image of downtown, even though it shouldn't be negative, but people perceive it as that way. And the board's input was sent to the city as well numerous times. Hopefully that answers your question.
Any other questions? Counselor Leatherborough.
Thanks for coming, Fidel,
Thank
and
you.
for the correspondence over the last few weeks. I hear your concerns, and just in terms of consultation, was there any specific questions, whether it's for you or your business, that you would like to see considered or included in the consultation piece?
So I think it's really important to see how downtown merchants feel about it. Like, you know, I've lost 2 tenants downtown. I'm across the Museum Square, and I don't want to get into what happens in Museum Square. I don't care, okay? So leave me out of that. Don't pin me on one side or the other. I've lost 2 tenants. I had a restaurant coming in, and as they came more downtown, they decided to pull back. I mean, I'd like us to ask us to say, we'll look, I'm going to give you a word right now. So we want to work and make this better. And I'll give you my word right now publicly, right now, that if we can come up with a good solution that involves all stakeholders and party holders, I'll be the first one to champion the cause to bring them back. But I'm not talking today about bringing them back or not. I'm just saying it's really important we be consulted specifically, what's been happening over the past 2 years. You've been here for, get our aspect and let's collaboratively see what kind of decision we can bring forward to bring it back. We have a beautiful downtown, people, and it's only going to get more beautiful. So I hope that answers the question. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other
Thank you very
questions
much
for
again.
Fidel? Yep. No, okay. Thank you. Next up is, Mr. Spina. Now I will, because I imagine things are going to be quite similar. All I ask is we kind of bring newer information to the floor, please. And respect the 5-minute period. Thank you.
Well, I'll take the 5 minutes. It's been about 20 years since the last time I was here. Can everybody hear me?
They're all yours.
Your worship, member of council, my name is Arnold Spina. And I'm here to address the homeless situation faced by Spina and Lowell. I want to start by saying we are not anti-homeless or anti-bench, but we are pro-downtown and want the best for the residents of Woodstock. Our objective is to appeal to the city of Woodstock to provide more support due to the chronic interference and damages, and number one, for the safety of our downtown, the residents and the employees. So our business properties are located down on the downtown core on Peel Street, Metcalf Street, and Reeve Street, across from the Market Square. We own about 80,000 square feet of commercial space. 19 businesses, which range from community health clinic, commercial bank, ministry of transportation, employment office, training and education, dance studio for kids. We have about 350 kids that come there almost every day. Pharmacy, accounting, Fanshawe College, and 18 condominiums. That's what we have in the 2 blocks. We as a business pay a premium to be in a C5 zoning. We pay to the city of Woodstock approximately $325,000 a year. Over the years, Spina and Lowell has invested millions of dollars to develop this part of the downtown core. And we continue to invest in maintaining and improving the properties in the downtown. Issues we face today. This is a social issue, and today the downtown business are bearing the impact. Over the past 12 months, there's been a surge in homelessness related issues. We have homeless entering the buildings, trying to use private washrooms and not taking no for an answer. We see a rise in people looking for a place to sleep and a place to inject drugs, especially in the cold weather. In the past year, we have incurred property damages of approximately $60,000 to doors, windows, and collection bins. We are now having to look at another $30,000 to further secure our entry doors. However, this will negatively impact our clients' businesses, since their preference is not to restrict entry. Our cleaning contractors, they are fearful for their cleaning staff. They are afraid of who's in the building, what to do when they encounter the homeless, and they have had to face health hazard of cleaning up human feces or other bodily fluids or needles that are left behind. I think you have some pictures before you that I left the other day. Here's our suggestions. We need effective deterrence. We need the city has hired a security company to monitor the city hall area. Can this zone be expanded by including those businesses within the downtown core? Whether the guards walk around the city hall 30 times a day or walk around the extended area 20 times a day, the cost would be marginally higher, if not the same. When the police or security company approach the individuals, they ask them, please move on and remind them this is private property. If these individuals are asked enough times during the day, especially at night, this will encourage them to move on. We need an emergency hotline for immediate response. Today, when you call the police, because of their heavy workload, the response time varies from minutes to hours. When I mean hours, it could be 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. For a parent facing someone in the entrance to their home or business, the response time needs to be in minutes. Number 4, the security company hired by the city could be on the hotline list. This would reduce the load on the police and improve the response time to minutes. Number 5, we need more shelters. During the winter months, there should be 24-hour access to the homeless in safe shelters and provide soup kitchen in these shelters. The homeless do not respond to our people or business owners or citizens of Woodstock. In some cases, they have threatened the safety of individuals. Recently, they threatened to cut my head off on one occasion, and also our manager, they threatened to cut his head off on another occasion. We need immediate steps to address the issue facing the downtown businesses. A city is nothing if it does not have a prosperous, vibrant, and a safe downtown. Would you feel differently about this if this was in your home or your neighborhood that was affected by this crisis and impacting the safety of your family and your property? I think you would. Like you, I care and I love the city. 23 years ago, I started a committee. We raised over $1.2 million to support the community. As well, these properties that we own, we pay, as I said before, approximately $325,000 a year in property tax. It's not that we don't want to help with the less fortunate, but we cannot do this on our own. We need your help now. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'll take them.
Thank you for that. Any questions for Mr. Spina? Counselor Tate?
Through the chair to Mr. Spina, since it's been 20 years since you've been here, it might be another 20. So I just want to thank you for your presentation. You have done amazing things for this community, and I think it's really important to stress that without a downtown, we have nothing, because it is the heart of every community, and you have spent years and time with our city. So we appreciate it. I couldn't agree with you more. The shelter is now 24/7, but it needs a long way to go, and we need a lot of support from all of council. I know it's county council, but also Woodstock Council. So I'm glad you brought it up, because that should be our focus, is helping these people, and the more money we can put into it and our time spent on that. So I just wanted to thank you for all your time and there's been a lot of volunteer hours that Mr. Spina has also given to the city, which contributed to our hospital. So I just want to thank you.
Counselor Lauder?
Thank you. And through to Mr. Spina, thank you for all you have done for the city. And I look forward, as Councillor Tate has said, that we now have Operation Sharing 24/7, which has just been recently, and that's where I really would like to see our effort, along with any effort that you or any of the committees could put together and make this really work for our city. So thank you again for all you've done, and keep up the good work for us.
Any other questions? Counselor Wheaton?
Thank you, through the chair to Mr. Spina. I just wanted to clarify, I wanted to make sure I heard correctly that one of your suggestions was expanded security and more deterrence. And so is your suggestion to expand the city security towards more private business areas and a wider geography?
Well, I was told that these security people, they do the downtown core. And then I was told that we don't qualify in the downtown core. Well, one more downtown do we need than what we have right across the Market Square, the City Hall. We have, like I said, Fan Shop. We have more people that walk on Metcalf, probably than walk on Dundas.
I just wanted to clarify that that's what I was hearing.
Any other questions from council to Mr. Spina? No? Okay,
Can I just
Well,
say one more thing?
yeah, absolutely.
We either are gonna throw in the towel in this thing, or we're gonna roll up our sleeves. That's the only choice I see. And enough of this politics of going back and forth. Let's do things right. Let's put our money where our mouth is and let's keep going with this. We need your help. We pay for your people to walk around the city hall. The security people. Why should we get that help? We paid $325,000 a year. Ask us for more. We'll pay more. But we can't do it on our own. They don't listen to us. Thank you very much.
I like to say thank you as well.
Thank you.
From my chair, I mean, it is definitely noticed. You certainly do a lot in this community for the 40 years I've been here. I certainly know this being a name and I really do appreciate what you've done. So
Yeah.
thank you
Thank
for
you very
continuing.
much.
Okay, moving along. Joseph Burbine for SB 21-10-8 and ZN 8-21-19, application for draft plan of subdivision and zone change. And this refers to planning report item 9G for those watching at home. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors. Thank you for allowing me to speak here this evening. I'd just like to take a moment to appreciate what the mayor and Councillor Wheaton here have done to move the intersection of Street A and Oxford Road 17 in relation to this plan. That was one of my main issues with this development, and this has already been a concession that's been made, so I really appreciate that. My name is Joseph Burbine. I'm here today to speak in opposition on behalf of this delegation representing the people and persons of the community surrounding the proposed zoning change and development, SB 21-10-8 by Woodstock Meadows Developments Incorporated. I will also be referring to them as the owner or developer moving forward in this presentation. This delegation will demonstrate that the studies provided by the owner lack thoroughness as well as consideration of the existing community that this council should expect from a development of this magnitude. Unfortunately, there's only time this evening to speak on 2 of the studies that have been done. I will also provide evidence that the proposed zoning change and development by the owner is neither compatible with the zoning in the surrounding area nor the best use of the area as per the interest of the corporation of the city of Woodstock and the people of the community. Firstly, this delegation is deeply concerned with the impact the zoning change and subsequent development will have on the quantity and quality of the groundwater used for drinking, cooking, cleaning, and agriculture in the area. In the hydrogeological study provided by GM Blue Plan Engineering as retained by the owner, on page 14, under heading 5.2, potential water quality impacts, it states that, quote, water quantity impacts generally occur due to a reduction of availability of water, end quote. This section goes on to say, quote, receptors that may be affected by these impacts are either ecological or anthropological, for example, water well users, end quote. As we know, there are many water well users in the area. This survey goes on to state under heading 5.3.2, sewage pumping station excavation, that, quote, intensive dewatering is likely to be required to maintain excavation stability during SPS construction. The associated dewatering requirements may exceed 400,000 liters per day, end quote. Additionally, the survey states that the basement excavations may also require dewatering in excess of 50,000 liters per day. No maximum amount of water drawn is given. Will there even be a limit to the amount of water taken? Most alarming to this delegation was the 10th bullet point under the heading summary on page 19 of the hydrogeological study, which states, with respect to source water protection, no significant drinking water threats have been identified. It is anticipated that a risk management plan for source water protection will not be required for the proposed development, end quote. This delegation does not view any threat to the integrity of drinking water as insignificant. While the survey acknowledges that there are identifiable risks, it goes on to say that they aren't planning on mitigating this risk with a management plan. This is unacceptable, dangerous, and irresponsible. Secondly, this has already been taken care of by the mayor and this councillor. I really appreciate that. It would be nice to have more than one main entrance, I'll say to this, but it's much more safe where it's located. Just the volume of traffic may be an issue, as I'll get on to say in a moment. The transportation impact study as provided to the county by Paradigm Transportation Solutions Limited, retained by the owner, is demonstrably inadequate. The data was collected for the study between March 2018 and March 2019, before the developments west of the proposed zoning change and subdivision had been built. This transportation impact study accounted for only a 2% growth rate compounded per annum in the city. Now, the 2021 Statistics Canada Census data shows a 13.9% growth in the city of Woodstock from 2016 to 2021, which already exceeds the proposed growth rate of this study. This area is currently an open space zone surrounded by rural residential, environmental protection, commercial dog kennel, and agricultural zones. These zones are not compatible with proposed high-density zoning as requested by the owner. This delegation states the proposed zone change is not the best use for the area. A recent article from the CBC published on November 4th, 2022, titled Soaring Food Prices That Have a Major Impact on Canadians' Health, states with data from the Consumer Price Index that, quote, prices on food purchased from grocery store shelves shot up 11.4% in September, the fastest annual increase in 41 years. The Statistics Canada Census of Agriculture has shown a continued decrease in not only the total number of farms in Canada, but the total acres being used for farming. To continue to rezone fertile arable land for sprawling residential development would be a contribution to the growing food scarcity crisis building in this country and a disservice to your community. This delegation's proposed outcome is as follows: that appropriate studies be conducted by an unbiased third party without interest in this development. The redrafting of plans, which has been done, I appreciate that again. The removal of the high density zoning, and for Woodstock Meadows Developments Incorporated and or the corporation of the city of Woodstock to accept full and unconditional liability if and when there should be a negative impact to the quantity and or quality of groundwater in the area. If these equitable concessions cannot be made, the council must act unanimously opposed to this proposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for the delegation from council? Before we move along? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, I'll ask Don Lazenby to come up, SB 21, actually for the exact same application for draft plan approval. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, members of the city staff. I'm here to discuss the zone change on the Meadows Golf Course and the proposed subdivision plan. First off, I would applaud the tremendous effort of many to arrive at this point. It's a huge amount of work. The item that I would like to consider is the location of what has become famous Street A. And I am pleased to see that some consideration has been given to the location of Street A since the planning meeting on Monday. I am coming to you on this issue because of what at that time was a lack of visibility for traffic entering and exiting from Street A onto Oxford Road 17. I come because I have lived and worked on Oxford Road 17 for a lot of years. I lived in the adjacent area for 50 years. I know that road extremely well. And if there's one thing that I would like to leave with councilors and particularly staff tonight is that Oxford Road 17 is not a Devonshire Avenue. Oxford Road 17 has some interesting and dangerous hills on it. And that's the problem. So turn lanes will help. Speed limits reduction will help. but it will not solve the problem. The hills are not going to move. So we better locate our exit and entrance onto that road in the right place. And we have an opportunity to do that, and I'm pleased that, as I said before, that the new proposal is much better than what we saw on Monday night. It moved somewhat further east to approximately the entrance of the what was the existing golf course. However, I think, and I'm pleased that the recommendation is also suggesting that people from the Oxford County Public Works would have the final say. And I would ask you to make sure that somebody actually stands on the road and sees this. It cannot be done from the computer. Those are my comments from a little bit of experience, and I thank you for your the consideration that's already happened and for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the delegation? Before he sits down. Counselor Shanberg.
Yeah, through the chair to Don Lazenby. First of all, anybody in the room doesn't realize Don's a former member of East Aurora Tavistock Council, so he's done his service over the years, and that's what makes him talk from experience, as you say. I know you use the word experience, so I really do admire that. Having said that, though, I want maybe to get your brief assessment as to the idea of intensification, or the word of intensification, when it comes to an urban setting versus the rural setting. And maybe it is unfortunate that you on the 17th line where you've had a farm for so many years is literally right on the border.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Shedberg. I think that we should set up a meeting that lasts or coffee that maybe lasts a couple of hours, and you and I can discuss that question. But my short answer is this. I would fully support intensification. And I also do not support that we can't use agricultural land to build more houses on. Where else would you build them? So we have to figure this thing out. And intensification is one of the ways to make better use of the land we're building. Thanks for the opportunity to spout off.
Any other questions of the delegation? Mr. Lazenby, thank you so much. Thank you. And at this time, I would ask Jay McGuffin, please come forward and again speak to the traffic impact study. I'll just start off by saying thank you so much to your team the last couple of days on working on all of this. Thank you.
Thank you,
Please
Your
go
Worship.
ahead.
And thank you, members of council and staff. It's a pleasure to be here again this evening. Just wanted to start off, it would appear as though the previous delegates have been informed of the proposed revisions. Like to thank everybody for input, and we've had a busy couple of days reassessing with our client and the traffic engineer. And in response to the comments received from our client's neighbor, we have looked at relocating the entrance, as mentioned, into the location of the existing entrance into the golf course. There is numerous elements that have to be reviewed and considered as part of that shift, particularly in maintaining the lotting patterns and the type of housing that were being proposed. The transportation engineers we met with several times in the past 2 days to review the detailed topographic mapping on the new location as well. And as a result, we've been issued a technical memo by our traffic engineers with regard to the relocation. They have confirmed that we far exceed sightline requirements in both directions above the TAC requirements, and have submitted that, and that is attached to our submission that we provided to yourself, your worship, and members of council this evening. Aside from that, or as a result of that, there's a supplementary request for an adjustment to the zone schedule. That is merely technical, in that we have the dual frontage units that we spoke of as the urban design feature along the gateway. As that gateway has moved, so have those units. And the zone boundary that surrounds those units has then moved easterly to wrap around that entrance. So there is an accompanying zone change map as well. I also heard some comments about the high density, just so council is aware, the high density block that is proposed, there are no current development plans on that block. And that block is simply implementing the designation that is in force in effect and has been for several years in the official plan. And the density that is proposed is consistent with the direction and requirement, minimum requirement of your official plan in terms of the detailed policy requirements for the range and mix of housing that are required within any housing development in the city of Woodstock. So this is not a single form type of development. It's a multi-form type of development. It includes with it high density residential opportunities, a variety medium density residential opportunities, as well as a variety of low density residential opportunities, with the sole purpose of directing opportunity for additional supply to achieve attainable housing within the city. Last but not least, there's a question of water. As a result, thank you to the city planner, who has provided additional information to the previous delegate as a result of the comprehensive submission that was provided as part of our application package. Again, for council's benefit, this project has been underway for 5 years, so this isn't a fly-by-night. We arrived at this last week, and here we are. There's been significant technical background reports and engineering studies submitted, and all of those studies have been circulated to the review agencies and ministries as required under the Planning Act, and comments have been provided back to the municipality. The municipality and staff will be able to speak better to that. But we reached out to our hydrogeologist as well in the past 2 days to get confirmation again with regard to this comment made about concern for their water well, for their potable water supply on the lands to the north. And the response that we got back has affirmed there is no anticipation of any impact to the wells on those properties. They are up gradient of the development, so the development is down gradient or cross gradient. Therefore, water's flowing in the other direction with regard to the proposal for contamination or any concern in regard to the quality of the water. With regard to comments that were extrapolated and probably not analyzed in full detail about the dewatering, that is on a construction purpose basis for the actual basis of the construction. And any dewatering over a certain volume is to be permitted by MECP, and there are regulations that need to be followed. Staff would be in a better position to comment on the details and specificity of that. Having said that, we have had an opportunity to review the comments provided by planning staff. And although we don't support the proposed deferral, we would ask that council make a decision this evening. Our client's timeline is very important. But we do support the proposed conditions that staff have put forward with regard to the review of the proposed entrance and the matters prior to going to county council. On that, I'd like to thank you for your time this evening, and I'm available if you'd like to ask any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McGuffin. Any questions for the delegation? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
It's getting easier, isn't it? Through the chair to Mr. McGuffin, it's not so much a question, but just thank you to you and your team for taking the time to make these changes from the concerns. I think that is very admirable that you were able to turn it around, because I can't imagine that that's a easy task to do. But I think that was very much appreciated. I know from my perspective, and I hope from the delegations as well, that that they're able to feel comfortable with that, and hopefully we can continue to make this a safe intersection and make sure that everybody's voices are heard in that aspect. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. The last delegation, I'm told, will not be in attendance tonight. So we'll go back up and I will look for someone to make a motion. Counselor Schanberg, I do believe you would have to leave the going back to 8A. You declared a conflict on this one, so I'm just going to give you the opportunity. So thank you. He's almost out. Counselor Tate,
I'll make the motion to receive his information.
and do I have a seconder? Counselor Wheaton, discussion? We have music. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Oppose? Seeing none? Thank you. Counselor Schattenberg, you may come back. Looking for someone to move a motion on Chris Eby Community Free Table. Counselor Tate,
I'll make a motion to receive his information and thanks to Mr. Eby.
do I have a seconder? Counselor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried, none opposed. Next, Mr. Hilderly, update on Southgate Center expansion. Looking for someone to make the motion. Counselor Wheaton,
I'd like to make the motion that Woodstock City Council receive the update from Southgate Center as information.
seconded by Counselor Lauder. Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Carried, none opposed. And then the rest are going to be dealt with, no resolution required, as dealt with under new business and consideration of planning. Perfect. Okay, we will move along. Consideration of planning reports. Have someone make a motion for 9A B 22-56-8, application for consent. Villages of Sally Creek, Inc. Counselor Tate,
I'll make the motion that Woodstock City Council advise the Oxford County Land Division Committee that the city supports the application for consent for lands described as Part Lot 13, Parts 1-7, Concession 1, formerly in the township of Blandford, now in the city of Woodstock, to facilitate the creation of a new vacant commercial lot subject to the following 4 conditions.
may I have a seconder? Counselor Lauder? Discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. Carried. Move along to 9B ZN 8-22-11, application for zone change, 334 Baird's Lane, 275926 Ontario, Inc. Counselor Lauder?
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the application for zone change for lands described as Lot 8, part of Lot 9, Plan 491, City of Woodstock, to rezone the subject property from General Industrial Zone M3 to Special General Industrial Zone M3 Special to facilitate a truck terminal with a reduced setback to the adjacent Environmental Protection 1 Zone, EP1, And further, that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. I will look for somebody to second that. Counselor Leatherbarrow, ask the planner to come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is a zone change application just to allow for a truck terminal with a reduced setback to the environmental protection zone. As indicated, Upper Thames Conservation Authority is satisfied with the reduced setback and staff recommend approval.
Any questions of the planner? Okay, thank you. Seeing none, I will call the vote then. All those in favor? Opposed? None? Thank you. Carried. Next is 9C ZN-8 2212, application for zone change, 1047 Parkinson Road, 1313 1131 Canada Inc. Can I have somebody make the motion? Counselor Schoenberg, seconded by Counselor Wheaton. Please.
That Woodstock City Council approve in principle the application for zone change for lands described as Part Lot 7, Plan 491, City of Woodstock, to rezone the subject property from Restricted Industrial Zone M2 and General Industrial Zone M3 to Special Restricted Industrial Zone M2-SP to facilitate a truck terminal and a trucking training facility with a reduced setback to the adjacent Environmental Protection 1 Zone EP1. And further, that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. This is another zone change application to allow for the transport truck terminal, a truck training facility, and a reduced setback from the adjacent EP1 zone. The property is currently split zone, so this will resolve an issue with the split zoning. Will also permit the proposed uses. And again, Upper Thames has not indicated any concern with the reduced setback to the EP1 zone. This is an approval in principle because the required bylaw schedules aren't prepared yet. Once we receive a survey from the applicant, we'll be in a position to prepare the schedules and bring back a bylaw for council consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Gilbert? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? None. Thank you. That carries. Move along to 9D, ZN 8-22-15, application for zone change, 1100 Dundas Street, Precon Precast Limited. Can I have motion? Counselor Lauder, seconded by Counselor Leatherbarrow.
Moved by myself, Woodstock City Council approve the application for zone change for lands described as lots 1 and 2 RP 491 in the city of Woodstock to rezone the subject property from general industrial M3 and restricted industrial M2 to special general industrial zone M3-40 to facilitate the redevelopment and modernization of an existing precast manufacturing facility. And further, that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you. This is a zone change application to again resolve a split zoning as well as add a special provision to permit open storage on the property to allow for the redevelopment of a precast manufacturing facility. The rezoning in staff's opinion is appropriate and will allow for significant investment in existing industrial site, and staff recommend approval.
Thank you. Any questions of council? Counselor Schoenberg.
Really just a statement. I know that they've mentioned that Monday's planning meeting, the precast, the delegation that was here, that they currently have about 60 employees, but the number of employees could go as high as 250 with this improvement. So they're investing money locally in their facility here.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. 9E ZN 8-22-818, application for zone change, 785 Southwood Way, Oxford County. Can I have a mover? Counselor Schadenberg. Seconded by Counselor Tate. Go ahead, Counselor Schadenberg.
The Woodstock City Council approved the zone change application file ZN 8-22-18 submitted by Oxford County for lands described as Lot 17, parts 5, 6, 7, and 8, plans 1616, 41R-9117 by amending the text of the existing special residential 4 zone, which was R412, as described in report CP 2022-428 to facilitate the development of a proposed 4-story, 52-unit apartment building, and further that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Mr. Gilbert, thank you.
Thank you. This is a zone change application seeking to amend existing permissions to increase the number of units for a 4-story apartment building from 48 to 52, as well as to provide additional parking relief. Staff are of the opinion that proposal is a good example of opportunity to provide affordable housing on an underutilized site, and staff recommend approval of the application.
Thank you. Any questions of council? Counselor Schadenberg.
Guess I just want to state to anybody that's watching tonight that the tenants of this building will be members of the Woodstock Nonprofit Housing Corporation, and it will be a mix of seniors, and it'll also be a mix of people that from Ingamo and also Dasso, as far as maybe some single moms with 1 or 2 kids as well. So it really does, as they say, covers the areas of aging in place, which I think is also very important as well.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. 9F, ZN 8-2118, application for zone change, 816 Devonshire Ave, 2843698 Ontario, Inc. Can I have somebody move that? Counselor Leatherborough, seconded by Counselor Wheaton.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approve the application for zone change for lands described as Lot 1, Plan 1115 in the city of Woodstock to rezone the subject property from residential zone from residential zone 1, R1 to special residential zone 3, R3-47 to facilitate a townhouse development consisting of 6 units and the retention of 1 existing single detached dwelling. And further that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Planning staff are of the opinion that this proposal is this appropriate infill project. The proposed townhouses will provide all required parking. They'll meet all the provisions of the R3 zone, with the exception of the existing lot frontage, which is proposed to be recognized, and will also make efficient use of an existing single attached dwelling that's proposed to be retained. As such, staff recommend approval of the application.
Thank you. Any questions? To council? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. Now 9G, SB 21-10-8 and ZN 8-2119, application for draft plan of subdivision and zone change 745314 and 745364 Oxford Road 17, Woodstock Meadows Developments, Inc. Counselor Wheaton, seconded by Counselor Lauder. Please go ahead.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approve in principle the zone change application file number ZN 8-21-16 submitted by Woodstock Meadow Developments, Inc. for lands legally described as Part Lot 5, Concession 14, Isora, being parts 1, 3, 5, and 6, 41R-7650 in the city of Woodstock to rezone the lands from Special Residential Zone 1, R1 Special, Special Residential Zone 2, R2 Special, Special Residential Zone 3, R3 Special, Special Residential, can I just say 4? Yeah. Special Residential Zone 4, R4 Special, Active Use Open Space Zone, OS2, Special Active Use Open Space Zone, OS2 Special and Environmental Protection Zone 1, EP1, to facilitate the proposed draft plan of subdivision. And further, that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter. And further, that Woodstock City Council advised County Council that the city supports the application for draft plan of subdivision, file number SB 21-10-8, submitted by Woodstock Meadows Developments Inc. for lands legally described as Part Lot 5, Concession 14, Isora, being parts 1, 3, 5, and 6, 41R 7650 in the city of Woodstock, subject to 59 conditions outlined in the report, including 3 additional conditions. That Street A be relocated approximately 243 meters to the east to the satisfaction of Oxford County Public Works Department and City of Woodstock. The owner shall receive approval from the City of Woodstock Engineering Department and Oxford County Public Works for any resulting modifications to the draft plan to accommodate the relocation of Street A. The owner shall provide any updates or supplemental information required to the satisfaction of the city and county respecting the modification of the draft plan of subdivision.
Well done. I don't think you stumbled once there. Mr. Gilbert?
Thank you. So as you're aware, the applicant have amended the draft plan to relocate Street A, which you heard was a concern at the public meeting, some 280 meters to the east. The revised draft plan and the letter were provided to staff late this afternoon. So we've not had a chance to circulate it to Oxford County Public Works Department or city staff for a fulsome review. So we generally recommend deferral of the application to allow for that. However, those 3 noted conditions will provide an opportunity to cover off any concerns resulting from the modification. Overall, the subdivision implements the official plan amendment that's in effect for the area. It provides a mix of housing types and densities to meet the needs of current and future residents of the city. It also, the proposed conditions of approval will implement all of the relevant commenting agencies' concerns, and staff recommend approval of the application.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner? Okay. Seeing none. I'll call the vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Counselor Tate.
So I didn't have a question, just a comment, and I think credit should go to Councillor Wheaton for all the work she did on this. We had a conversation last night and she's correct. What we decide here affects like 20, 25, 45 years. So thank you for all your work on this and the changes that took place.
Counselor Wheaton.
Thank you. And I'll just, through the chair, acknowledge that the number of staff that moved in the 11th hour on this is greatly appreciated to bring this forward in a timely manner. So very much appreciated. Yeah.
Staff from both sides here. Mr. McGovern, your team has been fantastic. I want to say it again. I got to say, you were here, you listened, you addressed, and came back with changes. And of course, our staff may not have had complete time yet with it, but by the sounds of it, we're going to be working together here. So for the betterment of the city, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you very much. Thank you. Moving along, 9H, a deeming bylaw request, City of Woodstock. Can I have a mover? Counselor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the deeming bylaw request submitted by the City of Woodstock, whereby the lands described as lots 2 and 30, Plan 559, and pedestrian access between Wellington Street North and Windermere Crescent, Plan 559, and lots 209, 210, 218, and 219, Plan 642, and pedestrian access between lots 209, 219, and lot 218, 219. Plan 642 in the City of Woodstock are to be deemed to not be within a registered plan of subdivision to ensure that certain lands deemed surplus by the City of Woodstock merge with the adjacent benefiting residential lots.
And I do need a seconder on that. Counselor Wismer Van Meer. It's just rolling off the tongue now. And Mr. Gilbert, thank you.
Thank you. So the deeming bylaw request in front of you tonight is a technical matter. The Planning Act has a provision that once a lot is created through a plan of subdivision, it's always a lot. So it'll never actually merge with adjacent lots. So this deeming bylaw will deem those lands not to be in a plan of subdivision and will ensure that they merge with the benefiting properties when the city transfers them to the budding owners. Thanks.
Any questions of council? Counselor Schanberg.
Just a quick question of interest. Does the city of Woodstock gain any income from being able to sell off if somebody gains even 4 or 5 or 6 feet frontage their property by assuming these laneways that are between there and their neighboring house? I guess what I'm asking is, do we sell the property or do we give them the property?
Your worship, to Councillor Schadenberg, it is a small lot sale. So yes, it is an actual sale.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed? Thank you. Consideration of correspondence, 10A, automated speed enforcement update. Can I have a mover? Counselor Lauder, seconded by Counselor Wheaton.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council receive the correspondence from the County of Oxford regarding automated speed enforcement as information.
Any questions or discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. And now 10B, Councillor Leatherborough has requested the following correspondence be added to the agenda. County of Oxford opposition to the Better Municipal Governance Act 2022 and Norfolk County opposition to the More Homes Built Faster Act 2022. Do need a seconder on that. Do I have one? Counselor Wheaton. Please go ahead, Counselor Leatherborough.
Just to be clear, may I read this? Okay, perfect. That Woodstock City Council supports the resolutions received from Oxford County and Norfolk County opposing the Better Municipal Governments Act 2022 and More Homes Built Faster Act 2022. And further, that the mayor be directed to submit a letter on behalf of Woodstock City Council to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the Honorable Ernie Hardman, Oxford MPP, expressing concerns with this legislation, the lack of consultation, the long-term environmental impacts, the downloading of costs to residents, and outlining the financial and other impacts to the city of Woodstock as outlined in engineering report item 14B3.
Thank you. Discussion? Counselor Leatherborough.
So I hope the community has a chance to read this correspondence. I thought it was important to bring it to tonight's agenda. And I did want to thank Harold DeHaan, the city engineer. I have taken a small snippet of his well-detailed and thought-out report. So if that's okay with you, Your Worship, I'd like to share that portion of it. Yep. As an example of the impact, January 1st, 2023, instead of paying a development of $15, $15,134 for a single family house, the city will only collect $12,107. This is a loss of $3,027 for every single family semi-detached house built. Using the 2021 number of single family semi units, this results in lost revenue of $429,408, including all types of construction. It is estimated that the city will have a loss of revenue over $966,000 in the first year.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Tate.
Yeah, just through the chair for council's benefit, I helped the warden, mayor from Ingersoll, and Mayor Mayberry to do this motion that we did at county council. I think it is very important for the public to be aware. The most important part of this is the downloading to the municipalities from the province. It was very disappointing. We had, 4 of us had a meeting discussing the motion, but before we even got the motion to county council, it already had 3rd reading at the provincial legislature. And I think it said December 9th, it was open for conversation. Well, they passed it before then. So I think it's important for people to understand what this does, because the most important part is the downloading to the municipalities it's gonna cost us. Did notice that a letter did go out from the warden with all the area mayors, with basically the same letter. So thank you.
Counselor Wheaton.
Thank you. I would encourage you, Mayor Accioni, to use your best words in constructing this letter, to be forthwith and to the point of the impact that it'll have on the city of Woodstock as well as other communities around us. And I would encourage the public to not be shy in writing their own letter to these same, the Premier, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and our local MPP.
Thank you. I can assure you, we've talked about it at length, and we are definitely going to. Again, I was going to mention, we did send one on behalf of county. We will be sending one from the city as well. Okay. And I'm glad to hear you have everyone's blessings. Well, I guess I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay. None opposed. Now I have everyone's blessing. Thank you. Okay, moving along, 10C to 10H is all correspondence with respect to Museum Square benches. No resolutions are required for these, as we will be dealing with these later on in the agenda. But I just want to put them on the record that we did receive from Oxford Coalition for Social Justice, Social Planning Council of Oxford, Sam Zabian, Brett Reed, John Wolf, and various downtown businesses. Okay. Moving along, down to department reports, 14A1, 2023 interim tax levy. Do I have a motion? Councillor Lauder, seconded by Councillor Leatherborough.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the interim tax levy for 2023 and that the necessary bylaw be approved.
Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Move. Thank you. 14A2 temporary borrowing bylaw. Can I get a mover? Councillor Schattenberg, seconded by Councillor Tate.
The Woodstock City Council authorizes a temporary borrowing to a maximum of $5 million for the year 2023, and that the necessary bylaw be passed.
Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Schattenberg.
Maybe at this point we get up from the mayor through to Diane Campbell, our treasurer, a brief explanation as to why the city of Woodstock must temporarily borrow $5 million.
Your worship, through to the councilor's question, it's just. Sorry. This is an annual report that we do, brought to council each year to ensure that we have the authority to borrow in the event that we need the ability to borrow on a short-term basis prior to issuing our tax bills. And it's not something that we use very frequently, but we need to have it in place.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. 14A3, Statement of Revenue and Expenditure and Statement of Capital Expenditures for the period ending November 30th, 2022. Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Lismer Van Meer.
I'll make a motion to receive his information.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. Carried. 14A, 4 items be carried over at year end. Councillor Leatherborough, seconded by Councillor Lauder.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approve the requests to carry funds over the year end as listed for various capital and revenue fund projects, and that these funds be recognized as a prior year commitment or a reserve contribution as appropriate.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. Carried. 14A5 Municipal Code Chapter 330 Fees and Charges, Schedule B5. Have a mover. Counselor Wismer Van Meer. Seconded by Counselor Lauder.
That Woodstock City Council refer the report regarding municipal code chapter 330 fees and charges, schedule B-5 to the bylaw section of the agenda.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. Carried. 14A6, approval of 2023 capital budget and 2024 to 2027 capital forecast. Kevin Mover, Counselor Lauder.
I'll move the first one, that council approved the decrease of 200,000 to project BLD 00033 Southgate Center renovation addition from the portion financed from the Development Charges Reserve Fund, Parks and Recreation.
Do we have a seconder for that? Counselor Leatherborough. Discussion? Seeing none? Okay, all those in favor? None opposed? Thank you. So carried. Any other motions to be made? There is. So the next one. Counselor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself, the council approved the decrease of 563,000 to project INF 00138 downtown revitalization from the portion financed from the reserve for capital projects.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Tate, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. Carried. You're just starting to move along here now. Counselor Leatherborough has a suggested motion. Counselor Leatherborough.
That project INF 00138 downtown revitalization be moved from 2024 to 2027 to 2023-2026, and that the 2023 portion of the project in the amount of 400,000 be financed by the reserve for capital projects.
Do I have a seconder? Counselor Tate. Discussion? Counselor Leatherborough.
Just wanted to make a comment that the streetscape master plan was adopted by council on October 6th, 2022. And I believe this project and hope that it will be a priority over this term. And through your worship, I'd ask that Mr. Creary could maybe add some information about this just for the public's feedback.
Of course. Mr. Curry.
Thank you. Your worship to Councillor Leatherborough. Originally, staff presented this significant project, the downtown revitalization streetscape and museum square project to begin in 2024 and running through the forecast years through to 2027. Originally, we slotted it in for a year, not the coming year, the following year, with the intent that we would try and secure grant funding to help defray the cost. The likelihood of securing grant funding isn't significant. There are opportunities to secure grant funding. The Rural Economic Development Fund recently announced an intake and we'll be pursuing that. That intake is in January. And while it's not significant dollars, anything will help. So the motion to advance everything 1 year to begin in 2023, I believe it has staff support. If council wishes to continue the momentum from the downtown development plan and to begin the actual, the conceptual detailed design as well as the contract preparations for the first phase of the streetscape, which would be from Brock Street to Wellington Street, I think it is actually a wise idea to begin that at this stage. I think staff would appreciate being given a longer period of time to complete the design so that there's more opportunity to, to look at the alternatives in terms of, the creativity that can be brought to the design in terms of some of the new vinyl lettering that can be applied to the surfaces, similar to what you see at the intersection by the cenotaph. All of these things can be looked at in greater detail if we have additional time. Now, of course, advancing this raises the question of that big $4 million first phase cost for the streetscape, which is Brock to Wellington. So that would come into the year 2024, but it's important to note that council isn't approving that project at this point. They're merely approving the design portion in 2023, the 400,000. We can get this project tender ready in 2023. And then when council's considering the next capital budget for 2024, it can be a decision of council at that time as to whether they're prepared to make that next step. We should have other funding opportunities present themselves with respect to disposing of some of the real estate, specifically the Woodstock Hydro building, which may provide council with options to fund this type of work with sources other than debt financing. Advancing this project doesn't jeopardize that. We believe that the question of whether or not that property will be sold and for how much should be answered by the time that we would actually be proceeding to financing. So from a staff perspective, we support the move.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you for Councillor Leatherborough and to the CAO for that. I know you've been communicating a lot back and forth, so appreciate that and working together. Next, Councillor Leatherborough. Suggested motion for Parks Department, page 31. Councillor Leatherborough.
That project PKS 00076 dash Cowan Sportsplex spray pad. 140,000 be moved from 2025 to 2024.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Lauder. Discussion, Councillor Leatherborough.
Just a comment and thanks to Brian Connors for all my questions were answered and it was great to sit in your office and ask those questions. I felt that it would be a great proactive move to move this project up a year because although it is deemed a small water spray pad, I think it would be beneficial at the Cowan Sportsplex because the summers are only going to get hotter. Families and athletes have returned to busy schedules in the summer and that's why I made this amendment.
Thank you. I'll ask. Ready to speak? Yeah. We'll ask Mr. Connors to speak to this because I promised him I was going to make him speak tonight.
Your worship, through to a question, I guess. Yes, the Parks Department has no problem with this. We'll be able to plan the work in 23 and then be able to execute for 24.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed? Carried. Moving along, Councillor Tate suggested motion infrastructure department, page 10. Councillor Tate.
The project INF 00050 Miller Street reconstruction, Northdale to Huron, 355,000 be moved from 2024 to 2023 and be financed from the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund.
And do I have a seconder? Councillor Schadenberg? Councillor Tate, discuss?
Just the normal, we are always way behind on street reconstruction and there was the money available, so moved it forward.
Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed, carried. Councillor Lauder, suggestion motion Parks Department, page 30. Councillor Lauder?
Thank you. Move by myself that the project PKS 00050 winter lights, new decorations and lights, 75,000 be moved from 2023 to 2024. Yes, I just asked to have this removed and move it on to 2024. I know it's a beautiful wish list, but I think that just until we see a little bit more development in the museum square, I would just like to see it moved on, and I don't want to see it taken out. But I would really like to see it moved on for 1 year and use that 75,000 in some of these other projects. So, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I also just quickly comment, I believe that is wise considering the other changes we're making, pulling things forward. I'd agree with this one. So at this point, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. Carried. Councillor Wheaton has a suggestion motion, Building Department, page 22. Councillor Wheaton?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Lauder that the financing for project BLD 00033 Southgate Center renovation addition be amended to include $2,710,000 from development charges, Parks and Recreation, 1 million from Southgate Center fundraising, and 3.1 million from debenture.
May I have a seconder for that? Councillor Lauder. Discussion, Councillor Wheaton?
I want to first say through the chair to staff, my deep appreciation for your working on this and for hearing my voice. In the original debenturing of a full 5.3 million, when I got doing a little bit of math on the long-term interest rates, there was some concern in my core of my being about asking the taxpayer to increase the amount of tax that they might pay on their monthly bill. And so by moving this money around, it does not have, it should not have an impact on the tax levy for the residents of this community, and continues to allow this project to move forward. So we are in a position where we have not seen these kind of interest rates in a very long time. So being able to look at this new reality, I do appreciate that staff were able to find a solution.
Any other discussion? Councillor Lauder?
I want to just thank Councillor Wheaton for the work she has done on this and being on the board at Southgate. We know how important this project is, and as I've said, it's been on the books for 10 years, and this will certainly reduce the amount of interest we'll be paying, and I'm very happy that this is happening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna ask the CAO to speak to this.
So my apologies. I keep making this mistake. We had 200,000 in a prior year from development charges, which has been just carried over by council. So I provided the wrong number. It should be 2,510,000 finance from development charges, parks and recreation. All the other numbers remain the same. It results in the same total project cost. It's just because so I would suggest just a friendly amendment if someone could, if the mover could make an amendment to that effect.
Can I move it? Okay, I'll move to
Yes.
that amendment. And would you like me to reread it?
I don't think that's necessary if the rest of council doesn't think it's necessary. Is that fine with the seconder? Okay, any other further discussion? Councillor Tate?
Yeah, I'll echo Councillor Lauder's comments about Councillor Wheaton working on this and doing the work on this. Councillor Lauder and I had a conversation. Doesn't matter how long you've been here, you always learn something new. So we had no idea you could take the money from development charges instead of straight to the tax base. So thanks for the work and thanks to staff for working on it.
Any other discussion? I'll certainly add from the mayor's office, thank you, Councillor Wheaton. We've sat at length at this. I learned a lot myself as well. The CAO has been very patient to walk us through as well as the Treasury. So this was a great learning experience, and hats off to you for looking outside of the box and kind of going this way. So I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed? Carried. And I'll say it, unanimous. Now, are there any other further motions from the floor before we move to final approval that I'm not aware of? Okay. All right, seeing none. Can I have a mover on the resolution to approve the capital budget as amended? Counselor Lauder, seconded by Counselor Leatherborough.
Thank you.
Final discussion?
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the 2023 capital budget and the 2024-2027 capital forecast as amended, and that the Director of Administrative Services be directed to prepare the necessary bylaw for council's consideration.
Thank you. Discussion?
I just want to thank the staff for all the input and the work, the hard work that they've done in coming up with this capital budget. It hasn't been easy since all the time slots since the election, and they've done a great job. And I want to thank all the new counselors, especially too, for looking into all of these and helping work through it. So thank you.
Any other discussion? Well, then I'll certainly add that as a new mayor, I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I really am so proud of our council right now. I believe we started off in more of a negative atmosphere, and we certainly have turned things around by your work. You've all been asking the right questions, asking staff, and I just, again, want to say thank you so much for working together. I'm very proud of us right now for this here tonight. So with that, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? None opposed? That is unanimous. We just passed the budget. Thank you, everyone. First budget. That's okay. All right, engineering. 14B1, encroachment agreement, 22 Wellington Street North. I do need a mover. Counselor Schoenberg, seconded by Counselor Tate.
The Woodstock City Council approves the encroachment at 22 Wellington Street North and authorizes the mayor and clerk to sign the encroachment agreement.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. 14B2, Market Center Canopy Roof Repairs. Can I have a mover? Counselor Lauder, seconded by Counselor Leatherborough.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize an increase of 85,000 for the Market Center canopy roofing and gutter repairs to be funded by capital projects reserves. And notice is hereby given that the 2022 to 2027 capital budget is amended accordingly.
Thank you. Discussion? Counselor Wheaton?
Sorry, just a technical question. Is it 2022 to 2027 or because it's in this current fiscal year? My apologies. I understand now.
I asked that same question already today, so it's okay. Make you feel a little better. Any other questions? Seeing none, call a vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Moved. 14 Bill 3, Bill 23, impacted development charges bylaw. Do I have a mover? Counselor Wismer Van Meer, seconded by Counselor Wheaton.
That Woodstock City Council received the report regarding Bill 23 impact to the development charges bylaw as information.
Just through the chair, my thanks to staff for writing this report. There is an incredible amount of information to digest in this bill, and you made it easy to read and understand. And I hope for our community to take to read and understand understand the long-term impacts on our financial situation.
Any other discussion? Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Through the chair, maybe just a general comment or question. Is this information that can be shared through city communications, whether it's through our social media's website, just kind of the impact of what it could look like monetary, so folks in our community fully understand. Not everybody will look through the budgets or look through these agendas necessarily, and I think that sharing this information would be beneficial so that everybody is getting the big picture here.
Can you speak to that?
Your worship, through to Counselor Wismer Van Meer, that just rolled off my tongue. We can have a discussion with the communications and marketing manager. It is somewhat technical to try to put something like this out on a social media platform. This is where we really miss the media, whether printer or more radio. That is a much more effective way of being able to communicate something a little more complicated like this. But we can take it back and see if there's a way to use the other channels.
Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Just further to your comment there, Mr. Creary, I would highly suggest and encourage our local media to perhaps pick up on this story and share it. And hopefully, I believe somebody is present here this evening. And hopefully this is something that will be taken back so the public can be more aware.
That was subtle. I can say I do plan on sharing this once we've had an opportunity to sit down, go over with the CAO, that letter we discussed earlier in the meeting. And we'll certainly share what we can from my end as well. But I'll call a vote if there isn't no more discussion. Sorry. Any other discussion? Counselor Schadenberg.
Just like to hear comments either from David Creer, our CAO, or possibly even from Brian Connors or even the engineering department about parkland dedication and how that may be changing in the very near future with the passing of Bill 23 with development charges and sort of sometimes land in lieu of development charges.
We'll certainly. Oh, Mr. Connors put his hand up. I saw him. So thank you, Mr. Connors.
Your worship, through to the councilor's question. Yes, Bill 23 has a very large impact on parks. Before this bill, growth paid for growth. And through this bill, growth will not pay for growth. The taxpayer will not pay for growth. Other issues that arise, there's several, but some of the highlights are that the city had some say in what land was given to them from park as a park dedication, and that has narrowed. So we could be given more swampy land or land that wouldn't be appropriate to put, playground equipment or sports fields on, but we'd have to accept. So there's several of those new pieces that would certainly change the parks, as well as in a lot of cases, the park dedication dollars are going down as well. So it's going to hurt us both in fiscally, but it'll also hurt us in what type of parks we're going to be able to receive.
Counselor Schadenberg, are you satisfied with that? Thank you so much. Any other discussion? Or any more questions for Mr. Connors? All right, seeing none, I'm sorry. Not really. I will say this looks like, from my understanding and everything else, this will cost the city millions. There's no way to sugarcoat it. I've got some serious concerns. I'm going to leave it at that right now. All those in favor? None opposed? Thank you. Moved. No cultural services, parks or rec. He's off the hook now. Economic development, 14E1, waiving of rental fees for the use of 16 Graham Street by Community Employment Services. Can I have a mover? Counselor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize staff to waive any rental fees retroactive to December 1st, 2022 associated with the short-term lease of 16 Graham Street to Community Employment Services.
Did I get a seconder on that? I'm sorry, I didn't. Counselor Schadenberg, thank you very much. Discussion. Counselor Lauder.
I think this is a very good gesture that we're putting forward here. because the Ukraine people are still coming to use. They had Mr. Bond's property on Main Street, and he was generous to have them there for quite some time, but through different reasons, they had to move from there. And I think this is good, and hopefully that they can find something more permanent in this period of time that we're giving them this area for their storage. They do have a lot of, I understand, a lot of things to give out yet, and that's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, for those at home watching, if you haven't been following along, yes, the Ukrainian group did come. They were looking for space. They have a lot of extra stuff. They had to move out of their space. The Community Employment Services offered to help them out with the insurance aspect and everything else. So that's why we're going to be doing this through 16 grams. So no, I thank staff for working as well on this, but also Community Employment Services for recognizing that need and stepping up to offer their expertise. So any further discussion? I'll call a vote. All those in favor? None opposed? Thank you. It's carried. 14E2, extension of build commitment for multiple industrial land sales. Councillor Schadenberg, seconded by Councillor Leatherborough.
The Woodstock City Council approved a 12-month extension to the time limits to complete a building with a minimum lot coverage of 10% effective from December 15th, 2022 for the projects indicated in Schedule 1 of the report, and further, the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the amending agreements.
Thank you. Discussion or questions? Councillor Schadenberg.
Just a short question, maybe just an explanation from our Development Commissioner, Len Magger, to explain the situation through COVID and whatnot.
Your worship, through to Councillor Schadenberg. You'll notice that I didn't put my hand up. I didn't really want to answer the question, but so what we have for all of council, we have typical conditions in our industrial land sales that people who buy land from us have to build a building covering 10% or 15% or whatever is outlined in the agreement within 2 years, the date of closing of the agreement. The challenge we've had over the last couple of years is there's been a number of issues with respect to getting materials. So companies have been actively trying to get their sites ready. We've had situations where people are getting slowed down in terms of the permitting process. Partly that's a volume thing, but we're also seeing that when people are preparing drawings on the private sector side, they're getting behind as well because they're pretty swamped as well. So there's a number of different factors that come into play where companies aren't meeting the 2-year commitment to build. So that's where we're bringing this forward to kind of give them a blanket 1 year to get things completed. And if you have an opportunity to go out and look at some of the properties that are outlined in the report, you'll see that a number of buildings are already kind of under construction. Some have already done a lot of site prep work and that sort of thing. In the one case in particular, waiting for steel. I believe the steel is coming from China. So a lot of these things are just taking longer. So this to us is the easiest way just to do a blanket report to give everybody a 1-year extension.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carried. None opposed. 14F1, Sister City Committee composition. Can I have a mover on that? Councillor Lauder, seconded by Councillor Wheaton.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council refer the report regarding Sister Cities Committee composition to the bylaws section of the agenda. Thank you. I thought it went on.
Thank you. Nope. Questions or discussions on that item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried, none opposed. Boards and committees. Board and committee appointments, 2022 to 2026. Councillor Schadenberg.
The Woodstock City Council confirmed the appointments of members of the public and councillors to their boards and committees as outlined in the report. And further, the council directs staff to prepare a bylaw to amend Municipal Code Chapter 51, the Environment Advisory Committee, to include 2 members of Woodstock City Council in the committee composition, And further that Councillor Leatherborough be appointed as the second council member to the Environment Advisory Committee. And in brackets, I'll add, I'm the first member of, so she would be the second one.
Okay, discussion on that? Did I have a seconder? Good. Okay. Councillor Leatherborough.
Just wanted to comment that I'm looking forward to being the second seat there alongside you, Councillor Shattenberg.
Any other discussion? I will say that I made that motion myself for those reasons. I think the environment is something is important. I think as a council, I would like to acknowledge that more in this term and moving forward. And that's the reason I'd like to have two councillors there to represent, so more of city council can get a feeling for the environment committee with all the new changes and everything else. So thank you, Councillor Leatherborough, for being willing to step up and go on to another committee. Okay, any other discussion? Councillor Wheaton.
I think I speak on behalf of all council, saying our appreciation to everyone who applied for board committee appointments. There was a depth of talent and an interest that it was great to see, and I'm really looking forward to working with a number of these community members on these boards and committees. I thank them for their contribution.
I'd like to echo that. I don't think people at home realize how many of you do come out and apply, and for that we are incredibly thankful. We have literally hundreds of applications for all the committees, and there's no exaggerations there. So apologize to those that did not get on. It's not that we didn't look at it and read it. Again, some of the applicants were actually shocking. In all my years of looking at them, I would say this is one of the best intakes and the wealth of knowledge we have. So looking very forward to moving forward in the committee. So best of luck to them. But please, if you are not successful, please continue with the interest here in the community. I always encourage you to go out and volunteer with other organizations. Everyone in this city is looking to have more help. So if you'd like still to give back, we welcome that in so many other ways than just on the committee. So please do that. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? None opposed, carried. Again, thank you everyone for that. Now our council schedule, 14F3. Can I have a mover? Councillor Wismer Van Meer. Look at that, easy peasy.
You're all going to be saying it in your sleep soon. Not in a good way, I hope. That the Woodstock City Council meeting dates for the months of July, August, and December 2023 and January 2024 be scheduled for 7 p.m. on the following dates: Thursday, July 13th, 2023, Thursday, August 10th, 2023, Thursday, December 14th, 2023, and Thursday, January 18th, 2024.
And I'm looking for a seconder on that. Councillor Lauder, discussion? Councillor Wheaton?
This is just a question through the chair to senior staff. Yesterday we had county council at 9:30 in the morning, and tonight city council here, both with heavy agendas. Is there consultation on what on these months where we only have one meeting, on whether they're on staggering weeks, I guess is a way I could phrase it?
Your worship, through to Councillor Wheaton, by design, the meeting dates that the city sets fall within the same week as county council. Particularly in the summer, it allows more open time for councillors to enjoy the summer if they so wish. So it is designed that way, that in these months with one meeting, they're both within that same week.
Yeah, and that is simply the reason for vacation periods and everything else. So, quick question. Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Carried, none opposed. So, everybody that's here tonight, set your schedules. You know when to be here. No reason now at all. You know about it. Okay. 14F4 accessibility report for the 2022 municipal election. Do I have a mover? Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
That Woodstock City Council received the accessibility report for the 2022 municipal election as information.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. Okay, moving along to 15, Special Committee Advisory Task Force Reports, 15A. Bruce Flowers Estate Final Disbursement. Counselor Lauder, seconded by Counselor Leatherborough. Counselor Lauder,
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approves the final distribution of $71,394.26 from the Bruce Flowers Estate be added to the Art Gallery's Art Acquisition Reserve Fund to be earmarked for a future public art commission.
thank you. Discussion?
This has been very fortunate for the Woodstock Art Gallery to have these funds. I am not sure for the full total of what we have been given, but Ms. Reed is in the audience if she wanted to speak to this at all. And but it's certainly welcome to our city, and we're fortunate.
She's coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the mayor through the councilor's question. So Bruce Flowers, as many of you know, was a very prominent member of our artistic community and also education community. He left approximately about $500,000 to the art gallery. We put a good portion of that, about $400,000 into the investment fund with the hopes that the fund will grow and we can use the investment earnings on that to continue a public art program. Unfortunately, with recent markets, that hasn't happened as planned. And so, you know, this miraculous additional gift of almost $72,000 has shown up in the mail in November. And so the intention is really to park that money in the Art Acquisition Reserve Fund, because that fund just sort of sits there, doesn't go up, doesn't go down, and we'll be able to, realize another public art sculpture once I get the other few off my plate, in the future years. Then by that point, the investment earnings, fingers crossed, will have raised and we'll be able to carry on with our public art program.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Reed while she's up? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Any other questions or discussion in general? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carried, none opposed. Moving along to 15B, 130 Finkel Street, request to alter the property under the Ontario Heritage Act. Can I have a mover? Counselor Tate, seconded by Counselor Wismer Van Meer. Thank you.
I'll move that Woodstock Council approves the application for alterations to the property at 130 Finkel Street as per the demolition plan and site plan sketch submitted by the applicant dated December 15th, 2022, subject to the following 3 conditions.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carried, none opposed. Thank you. No notice of motion. New business. Counselor Leatherborough.
Whereas at the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on October 21st, 2021, council directed staff to remove the benches and picnic tables in the downtown area until further notice. And whereas to reinstate benches and picnic tables ensures Woodstock's downtown core be both accessible and inclusive to all members of our community. Now therefore be it resolved that Woodstock City Council directs staff to reinstate all such benches in Museum Square immediately and all remaining benches and picnic tables in the downtown area in the spring of 2023, following the final snow removal activities.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Counselor Wheaton. Discussion. Counselor Leatherborough.
So I put together some thoughts just so I don't miss anything. So don't mind me as I read off my paper here. I brought this motion forward because it's been 1 year since security and bylaw were increased in Museum Square and benches were removed from downtown. This is a new term of council, and as the original motion was written last October, there was never a timeline provided when to expect benches to return. It is my understanding that removing seating in the core was never a long-term solution, and fortunately, we have seen positive changes in the downtown and within frontline services since last October. Additionally, the lifting of COVID-19 restrictions and lockdowns have contributed to where we are today. As of December 1st, Operation Sharing is now operating under a 24/7 shelter model with support from community partners and from the support of Oxford County Council. Buildings are being renovated and more storefronts are opening throughout downtown. The Streetscape Master Plan was adopted on October 6, 2022, and we now have a downtown development officer leading future plans that will contribute to the success of a vibrant core that everyone can enjoy. The Streetscape Master Plan included extensive consultation from residents, downtown businesses, and stakeholders. It was designed with outdoor seating in place. We as a community have more work to do for our most vulnerable community members, and I take this seriously within my role. This motion is brought forward so we can have a discussion collectively on long-term goals and to highlight changes and efforts that have been made within our community over the last year. This is also an opportunity to encourage residents to support long-standing and new small businesses that are fundamental pillars in this community. I believe it is important we move forward with the Streetscape Master Plan, but seating in the core must return so we can ensure that we have an inclusive and accessible downtown.
Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
If I was voting for myself, I would be in favor of seating being returned to our downtown, but I was elected to listen to what people are saying. And there has been a lot of correspondence that have come in. I've spoken to a lot of people and they're coming from all sides. And they're coming off also from a neutral perspective where they actually really don't care what the outcome is because it doesn't affect them directly. I've talked to a lot of business owners, but I've talked to a lot of folks who are also shoppers in our downtown. And there is still that perceiving of that the safety level in our downtown is not quite adequate. I'm not sure I've ever quite agreed with that statement of it being unsafe, but I respect where our business owners come from and their concerns and what they've experienced. I would like to put a motion forward that the regarding of the reinstallments of benches and picnic tables in the downtown area be postponed until February 2023. And that is pending the completion of a public and stakeholder consultation and a staff report outlining the consultation results.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder on that? Councillor Lauder? Any further discussion? Councillor Tate?
Yes, I'd like to thank Councillor Wismer Van Meer for bringing this forward and listening to the stakeholders and various other people that have commented on it. Had a lengthy discussion with Councillor Wismer Van Meer and Councillor Wheaton, giving them a background as to why we came to the decision when we did a year ago about the benches. I did write down a couple of things. I didn't want to miss anything. It's a long, involved process that went into it. I'm going to make it as short as possible, but it was 2 years in the making. A lot of discussions, mostly between Councillor Lauder, myself, and Councillor Talbot, because we sit at the county and the responsibility is with social, with the county. And I think our main concern was we wanted to help these people. We didn't want to hurt them. And at no time was this to discriminate anybody. It was to help those people. So from all the people that we talked to, it was police, museum staff, city staff, the workers, the board of works, the parks people, a couple of lawyers. I deal with an organization that helps people coming out of jail and they house them and what they do. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of discussions, a lot of arguments back and forth of how we would go about it. But the number one issue, and actually the first person that I asked was my brother, who was a police officer, and his comment was, Deb, none of these people want to be there. They do not, when they're not high, they don't want to be high. And if you can't help them get away from where they are, you're never going to help them. So talking to everybody that we talked to, everybody involved, it came back to the same thing. You have to give these people somewhere where they can get help. So you leave them there, they're going to get preyed on. So the issue, and I think everybody will agree, and all the downtown people will agree, the issue wasn't the homeless, the issue was the people coming in on preying on the homeless. They're the ones who brought in the nefarious activities, they prey on them, the drug dealers. So the first issue, the reason it took so long is the first issue was we had to figure out what to do. When it turned out that Sean Shapton was named Director of Operation Sharing, it made a world of difference. So it was easier to come to the conclusion, take the benches out so those people are not preyed upon because they're the most vulnerable. Take them out, get a location they can go to. So the second part was at county. We did the motion for the 24/7 shelter. It's come a long way. We have a long way to go, but it's getting there. And so it's important to me, we are protecting those people we were trying to help. Don't put them back in the same situation. Let this focus be on helping them. So I'm very passionate about this shelter. I think that should be our focus. I don't want to have a fight about the benches. I think that's a waste of everybody's time. I think the important thing is to focus on who we're helping. And the very last issue is the downtown merchants. Without them and the money they've invested in our community and the staff they employ, we have nothing. As I said before, without our downtown, we have nothing. That is the heart of our city. And it's very important. We have a thriving downtown and the new businesses coming forward. They look fantastic. Let's not hinder them. Let's work all in the same direction. Get this shelter where it be. Of course, we're putting the benches back at some point, but I don't think we're there yet. So thank you very much for bringing this forward. I think it's important that everybody has their say, and that's it.
Okay, I will ask for more discussion, but I'll remind you that right now we're talking about the deferral itself, this new motion right now. Okay, this is not going back to the original motion. This is going to the deferral motion or postpone, I'm sorry, postponement. Counselor Lauder.
Not just sure if my, if my comments are just, I'm going back to the original motion and why I couldn't support it. I cannot support the motion to install the benches at this time.
Again, this
and-
is not the one, Counselor Lauder.
okay.
No, right
Uh,
now,
I-
we're on,
I-
just on the postponement itself.
Yep.
We will have the opportunity, if this is successful, my understanding, it does have to be brought forward within 3 months of the original motion, meaning it does have to be brought forward again by the February 16th meeting. So again, it's on the floor. Counselor Wismer Van Meer's motion right now is the one we're discussing. Sorry. Yeah. Counselor Wheaton? Yep.
I wish to, I will support, as I second the motion, I will support the motion that was brought forward. And I just want to say that I did go to the operation sharing. I've been in contact with Councillor Shapton on different occasions. And or not counselor, he's no longer counselor. He's no, oh yeah, I'll tell him to come right in. And they're doing a fantastic job. And I just would like to put our efforts into the support, letting this grow. And we know that it's a need in our community. They're doing a great job. He has staff there that can help the people that are coming there, and they are using the facilities, both operation sharing and at the inn. So in the meantime, let's consult with our organizations, the downtown business and the city staff, and come up with the next steps to make this a better situation all the way around. So I certainly am in agreement with the second part of the motion, the second motion.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Wheaton.
Thank you. Through the chair, first of all, a couple of comments before I have a question. Councillor Tate, I appreciate your time yesterday in our lengthy discussion. We had a very candid conversation that covered a lot of background and a lot of future discussion, and I do appreciate that. I also want to say I really appreciate that back in January of 2022, that you stepped forward at County Council and made the motion for 24/7 shelter. I don't think we would be in the position, in a much more positive position today than we were in January without that motion. So thank you for those steps. My question is more of a technical question that maybe we need to decide today is, what does consultation look like? I ask that because This notice of motion was brought forward. It was put out there a month ago. People have had time to digest this. People have had time to comment, send in their letters. Is that a piece of the consultation? Or do we go through a different formal process? I'll leave that at the end of the question for now and maybe circle back depending on.
Your worship, through to Councillor Whedon, much of the remarks that, we've received to date, would need to be filtered out, because a lot of the comments relate to the, a lack of consultation as opposed to striking to the core of the question with respect to, bring back the benches now or not. So we would be inclined to begin afresh with a new consultation. If council approves the direction for staff, we would undertake to design a consultation program in the next few days and launch it in likely January, run it through the month of January, closing early February to get back to council for February 17th, because the notice of motion has a life of 3 months, at which point, if it's not dealt with, it expires. So February 17th would be the last council meeting for council to consider the notice of motion from Councillor Leatherbarrow, and if they don't, it would need to be reintroduced. But there's sufficient time, I think, to undertake a survey, whether it, we haven't designed it at this point, so I can't give you specifics. We would first wait for council's direction. It would probably, we may be able to introduce something in the January What's on Woodstock. We still have that a very short window before it goes to print. So we probably be looking at something online, using social media to drive people to the online survey. But we haven't given thought to exactly what the questions are. If council has any specific thoughts as to what will help you make the decision, we invite you to share that with us, because that will help us design the questions that we pose.
Councillor Wheaton.
Through the chair, just a follow-up question. How do we know as councillors when is the time to initiate a consultation first rather than a motion? And I ask this because during the delegation, Mr. Zabian said, how would you feel if a 10-story building was approved in your backyard and you weren't notified? Our process is that a motion comes forward, we go through the planning process. So there are mechanisms in place to allow people time to comment, arrange for a delegation, submit their letters. What is different from that and our role of the typical rural council and a consultation process? And I'm sorry if I don't want to get too far into the weeds. I just want to understand what to expect and what the community can expect. 2 years from now, we have a totally different situation. How do we know when to consult and when to put forward a notice of motion?
That's your worship, through to Councillor Wheaton. That's an interesting question. As you know, for planning matters under the Planning Act are subject to regulatory public consultation. So there's statutory public meetings that have to be held to give the public an opportunity to share their thoughts on any planning related matter. And that's what happened on Monday and tonight. So to the question of in what circumstance should council be seeking public consultation, much of that is discretionary to council. If it's an issue with significant public interest, we would always suggest council undertake engagement. Public engagement is always advisable whenever possible. And an example would be if we're changing our public transit routes. We know it affects people. You want to hear from people. So there's actually a standing council policy that directs, like we will do a public consultation before we tamper with our public transit routes. So there are these kind of things that are programmed, but we don't pull benches and replace benches out of normal course of business. So this is kind of a one-off that, it's hard to say that, this is an example of one where it should have been a public consultation process versus not. I think you've heard from a vast number of people that they feel that council should, and that's the motion on the floor. Staff won't proceed with a public consultation unless specifically directed by council, and that's what we have on the floor at this moment.
Could I add to that as well, Councillor Whedon, if that's okay? I mean, I do like what the CAO said, and I do encourage council. I think here's the opportunity of a perfect example where something that may not have been important to some is very important to others. So going forward, it is certainly going to be recommended if you suspect something, or as a counselor, if you get a lot of public outcry on a certain item in specifically, I think there's your opportunity where we look at it maybe as the mayor's office and city staff and say, listen, this is consistent. For example, our benches tonight, the stakeholders involved do not feel, if it's fair to summarize, that they were involved enough or at all. Here's an opportunity we have to make the public aware that we are listening. We want to hear from you. Let me be clear. We want to hear from the public. So I put the challenge back to us as a council. In a scenario like this, where there's not a precedent setting, I put it to you, if you believe there's going to be some outcry or some major concerns before it becomes an issue, please, let's have the discussion. We'll discuss it with staff. We'll discuss it with the PR department and everybody involved to try to address how this might go out and get some kind of responses. Councillor Wheaton?
I will make a 2-point question and I'll wrap up my thoughts. Do we budget for this? Do we expect costs? Or is it primarily, we'll make use of the existing messaging mechanisms that we have? And I'm confident that the media will pick up on this and share by earned media. And my second thought was, do you want input from us or the public on what those questions should be in the consultation? Or is there a standard set of questions that might be asked in a public consultation?
Your worship, through to Councillor Wheaton, I don't expect we need a budget for this. We will use existing staff resources and existing staff corporate communication mechanisms in order to drive this. Secondly, yes, if as I say, we would invite council if you have thoughts as to specific questions that will help you decide on this issue, we would certainly invite you to share those thoughts with us as we work to design the questions that we want to probe with the stakeholders and the general public. So if you have thoughts, please share them.
Thank you. That does answer my questions thoroughly.
Okay. In fact, I'll put a request out. I think all of us, with discussions with everyone, has had enough people reach out to us independently. I'm going to ask you all to put, say, a few questions together that you feel is important and consistent across the board. If you don't mind sending those to myself as well as the CAO, and we will certainly work right away on putting something together. Okay. Councillor Tate.
Yeah, just further to that. So this is gonna come from staff. So just a question. So I'd expect to hear comments from the police, parks, border works, museum, also, right, and the stakeholders and the general public, correct? It's like a normal staff report where everybody
All stakeholders
that's involved. Okay, I just want to clarify.
And then to that extent, may I
Yep.
add, I encourage you, those that are here still in attendance, as well as watching from home tonight, if there are other concerns that you have not heard yet addressed, or you don't feel that has been stressed enough, as always, we encourage you to reach out to anyone you'd like. I'll certainly take your emails and put them together as well. Councillor Tate?
I think, Counselor Wheaton and I touched on this last night, and she made a good point. At least it gave us a point of discussion, and I think I think the most important part of this part is I think it brings more awareness to the shelter too, because we're able to talk about it, and I think that's the primary focus. So at least it brought discussion, which I think is always important.
Thank you. Yes, I do. I agree with that. Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Through the chair to council, further to what Councillor Tate has said, a big part of my reason to put this motion was that these conversations can continue. We are dealing with an unfortunate situation, but as Councillor Tate has just mentioned, we have some great light on the horizon with what's happening at our shelter. And I had a great conversation with Sean Shapton earlier this week. That's a big part of why this motion is here. And I haven't done it for or against or for the neutral. I've done it to engage conversation. So we need to hear from you. And as Mayor Accioni has said to those correspondents that are still here, I encourage you to please, please, please and get your fellow business owners, your neighbors, whoever you feel you've spoken with to respond to this, because that's what's crucial in making these decisions. And we need to make the right ones for the betterment of our community. And we need to do this as a group, as a team, as a whole. And that is the goal of council. And that's the goal, I think, of our community. So please, as soon as we're ready to get this out, share it, have these conversations. Let's keep talking about what we can do to help our vulnerable population as well, and not just about putting seating in our downtown.
Any other further discussion on the postponement of the motion? Councillor Leatherborough.
Yeah, through your worship, just a comment. I wanted to say that I think we've all had conversations about this, and I was elected specifically on community engagement, and I think that good conversations have come out of this, as well as a newly developing team. And on the community engagement piece, if that is what sprouts the long term of having seating in the core and investing into the downtown and supporting businesses and vulnerable individuals that are part of our community, then I am supportive of this. I just hope that we do not lose sight of the fact that there were short-term solutions and there were long-term solutions, and there is so much to be proud of. And even if we benchmark, no pun intended, a year from now, we need to recognize where we're moving. This is a new term of council. And I truthfully took every positive and concern very personally and very deeply. And I really just want the best for downtown, as does everybody else around this horseshoe. So thanks.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion again on the postponement of the motion? Okay, so just to be clarified for everybody here tonight as well as at home, this is not a vote for and against putting the benches back. This is a vote right now simply to postpone the decision until the February 16th or 17th. Sorry, I don't have my calendar right here in front of me. 16th, thank you. To the February 16th, giving what I believe stakeholders enough time to feel involved, be part of this conversation, so that when council votes on this on February 16th, everyone is feeling engaged. Okay. For that, I'll call the vote. All those, oh, sorry, more discussion. My apologies. Councillor Wheaton.
Just for those who watch at home, could we reread this motion? Because I know that when I rewatch council meetings for a motion that was read out 10 minutes ago and then we've discussed it, sometimes it's like, wait, what are they voting on now? Could we just reread the motion and then we can vote?
That would be fine if Councillor Wismer Van Meer would like to reread just your portion of the motion. Thank you.
That the motion regarding the the reinstallation of benches and picnic tables in the downtown area be postponed until February 2023, pending the completion of a public and stakeholder consultation and a staff report outlining the consultation results.
Okay. I'll call the motion, or I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carried, none against. It is postponed until the February 16th meeting. Thank you so much to all the stakeholders, everyone involved in this. I want to use this as proof. We do care. We want to hear from you. Thank you very much to the public. This is what governance is about here in the municipality. Keep it up. So thank you to council for recognizing that as well. Thank you, Councillor Wismer Van Meer, for working on the wording and everything else. And I think this is great. So thank you. That is carried unanimous. All right. Moving along, because it's getting late. 18 draft bylaws. Councillor Leatherborough.
I've run out of water, so pardon me, I'm a little parched. Moved by myself, seconded by Counselor Wheaton, that the following bylaws be given a first and second reading. 9556-22, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 8626-10 as amended. 9557-22, a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy. 9558-22, a bylaw to authorize the borrowing of $5 million. 9559-22, a bylaw to amend municipal code 62, Sister Cities Committee. 9560-22, a bylaw to amend municipal code 16, procedure bylaw. 9561-22, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 8626-10 as amended. 956-22, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 8628-10 as amended. 9563-22, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 8628-10 as amended. 9564-2022. Let me try that again, sorry. 9564-22, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 8628-10 as amended. 956-22, a bylaw to designate certain plans or parts of plans of subdivision not to be plans of subdivision for the purposes of the Planning Act RSO 1990 Ontario as amended. 9566-22, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 8626-10 as amended. 9567-22, a bylaw to amend City of Woodstock Municipal Code Chapter 330 fees and charges.
Well done, Councillor Leatherborough. Discussion. Questions or discussions on that? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Carried, none opposed. Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself, seconded by Counselor Wheaton, that the following bylaws be given a third and final reading. 9556-22 to all inclusive 956-22. 9567-22, all inclusive.
Perfect, well done. Questions or concerns? Discussion, seeing none. Call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed? Carried. Wow. Not bad. Okay, we are done with the agenda now. Of course, we'll move along to questions and addresses by members of council. I'm going to start with Councillor Leatherborough tonight. I know, or do you want a breath? I can. I can bring you water. This is the end. This is it.
So it's been said a bunch tonight, but thank you so much to staff. Mr. David Creary, I feel like I've called almost every day on the hour. And I just really appreciate how professional everyone is. And I love that you invite all questions and any questions. I also hope everyone has a great holiday season spent with your loved ones, whatever that looks like. We've got 4 kids, so a lot are looking forward to the Christmas season and having some time off of school. So the educational workers will also be pleased to have a break. And just in terms of the downtown discussion, I thought I'd take an opportunity to share a brief story that my business that is located at 375 Dundas, we celebrated our 1 year December 1st. And a really heartfelt story that goes with that, as most people know, Jim Wright owned an upholstery shop there for 20 years. And we've been really fortunate to have community partners and feels like friends and family now, and a lot of people coming through there from what we've done with the space. But Jim Wright wasn't going to just sell the building to anybody. He made it abundantly clear that it was a personal sale and to go to someone that was going to give back to the BIA and be committed to downtown. So I thought it was fitting to say we've celebrated our 1 year, and just that I take that quest very seriously. So, yeah.
Counselor Lauder.
Thank you. Happy anniversary on your 1 year. And the Woodstock Art Gallery is teaming up with 5 local restaurants to provide a creative experience that combines local cuisine and artificial activities. Well, I should say activities. Taste of Art Selects is now on sale and tickets can be purchased through the gallery's website. Each ticket is $75 and includes a $50 credit to be used at participating restaurants during the month of February and includes a drop-in program at the gallery. So just give the gallery a call and I'm sure there'll be something that's very interesting and something new that they're trying. And this Saturday, December 17th, is the gallery's free open studio drop-in from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., where you and your family can explore seasonal art making activities. Please come out and join in the fun. And last week, I had the honor of attending along with the mayor, the police college graduation, and 460 cadets that graduated. It was quite a sight to see them all parading and everything that they went through. So I want to congratulate 2 of the cadets, now constables for the city of Woodstock, Constable Eccles and Constable Leosel. And it was just a great event to attend. And wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And best of all, and stay safe and healthy over the holidays. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Wheaton.
Thank you. As we enter into this holiday season, I think of 2 businesses that have taken some great steps in the last little bit, and I hope that you'll indulge me as I put on my county councillor hat here. Jody Pendry of Terra Nova Nordic Spa, they have opened up and expanded their service to include, they're open 7 days a week, 10 till 8. Where you can disconnect and relax in their Nordic Spa. This is just a few minutes north of Woodstock on Highway 59, just before you get to the grand town of Hickson on the left-hand side. So I encourage you to look that up. It would be a great gift for that person who needs to unplug and relax, or really anyone at this table who needs to unplug and relax over the holidays. There's hot pools, cold plunges, eucalyptus steam room, and so much more. I think that this is going to be a huge, so they've just opened this up on November 28th. So a huge spin-off opportunity for the city of Woodstock as people come to this facility, will come into Woodstock for accommodations, to shop and to eat. So I encourage our local businesses to connect with Jody and find ways to cross-promote and to encourage her guests to come here into the city. The second business that comes to mind, and I just made a little trek out there myself this week, is Red Dragon Dairy, which is on Selford Road, just west of Selford. They're also open 7 days a week. They have their own cheese, sheep cheese dairy right on site. They also carry a number of imported cheeses, and because of their British background, they've imported a number of specialty British items. And so if you know someone who that might tickle their fancy, then I encourage you to head on over there. Ellis and his family have done a fantastic job building a nice business there in Southwest Oxford that does contribute to our overall economy. So those are 2 places that I think are very seasonal. And I wish my fellow councillors and staff a very Merry Christmas. And I do hope staff take the time to unplug over the holidays and ignore us. Please.
Well, I can assure you they won't do that if you reach out. Counselor Schadenberg.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I guess 4 things I want to mention. First of all, the WCI Red Players have their last 2 nights of Elf, the musical, on Friday and Saturday. So that's tomorrow and Saturday at 7 p.m. You can buy tickets from the website On Stage Direct for that one. And lots to talk about the Woodstock Navy Vets, and boy, they have a busy night on Friday, December 16th on Friday night. They're playing the Tavistock Braves tomorrow, but it's kids' night, so all kids under the age of 16 will get in free if they're accompanied, of course, by their parents. They want all the kids to wear festive hats and sweaters, and they also want the kids to bring possibly a toy donation for the Memory of a Hunter Weston campaign, where the toys will be donated to the Children's Health Foundation. Also want to recognize the retirement just announced, I believe it was yesterday or maybe even earlier today, but yesterday was Dave McKenzie as our member of parliament. Um, he was a city police chief for 8 or 10 years, I believe, but he was certainly in the police force from 67 to 97. So 30 years a police officer for the city of Woodstock, and then member of parliament since 2004. So it's 18 years with all those trips back to Ottawa to be our federal conservative member of parliament. So I want to congratulate Dave McKenzie on announcing his retirement. Of course, that's Deb Tate's a dad, and boy, did he have a long time service to this community, both on the politics side of things and through policing. And the one I mentioned is a sad note, and it's one of those things where it's been a very difficult year for our councillor Connie Lauder, who had lost two brothers earlier this year. But this past Monday, her stepdaughter Bonnie Bellamy passed away, who's John Lauder's daughter. Of course, she ran Bellamy's Catering for a number of years, and she passed away after a long illness at the age of 68, I believe, on Saturday. So definitely condolences to Connie and her family. Difficult this time of year to lose somebody in the passing of Bonnie Bellamy.
Thank you, Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
I'm going to try to keep mine nice and short because it's been a late night. I'm excited. I'm going to see Elf tomorrow night with my friends from Big Brothers Big Sisters. So we're excited to see that. WCI Red Players never disappoint. So I highly encourage anybody who has no plans for Friday and Saturday, get out and check out those productions because those kids will absolutely blow your socks off. I want to just encourage folks to get downtown this holiday season, support our local businesses. We have so many great local businesses that are new to our downtown that I think people haven't had the chance to go and see. So get down there, do some shopping, support local and love local as much as you can. If you have the hard to buy for, I always encourage folks to look at the not-for-profit industries and those organizations in our community. These last 2.5 years have been extremely difficult for everybody, but the not-for-profit has really taken a hit in that aspect, and the fact that they rely on community and businesses who have suffered, and our community is what gets them through. So if you have somebody that's really tough to buy for, find out what their favorite charity is, or maybe pick one of your favorite charities and make a donation in their name, because that's a great way to celebrate the holiday season. Happy holidays, everybody, to the staff, to my fellow councillors, to our community. Looking forward to an amazing 2023 with you all.
Thank you, Councillor Tate.
So I am also going to mention my father. Don't normally talk about him, but now that he's finally retiring, actually I got the heads up on Monday, so it was kind of all, the kids found out on Tuesday. My father did have a long career in policing and then a long career following me into politics, and as I was elected first. But he did a lot of good in the community, did a lot of community fundraising, a lot of volunteering, which most people don't realize the amount of work that goes in to different community members. It was him and a small group. I think there was 5 of them that met weekly at my parents' house and came up with the community complex. So it was just 5 individuals: Murray Coulter, Paul Plant, Carol Simmons, and I think Mike Bragg. And it was just, they saw a need in the community and they worked on it, pitched it to the council at the time, and we now have the community complex. He's always given me fantastic advice. He doesn't say a lot, but what he says you should always listen to, because it's always very well spoken. So the one thing I do want to mention, I just found this out from the campaign and met a large number of people through the last campaign that I hadn't met before. And Ali, I just met him through the campaign, great person, but I found out his brother, my dad helped, I think it was 10 years ago. He had a problem. He was trying to get his wife and child over and nobody would help him. Went into my dad's office and they got him over. It was such a great story. I'd never, because my dad doesn't talk about anything, so you never hear it. And a great family. I am honored to be friends with them now, and I'm so happy to hear that. And my last thing is just to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. It can be a stressful time of year. One very important piece of advice my dad always told me: if somebody lashes out at you and you don't understand, stop and just think, it's not you. There's something going on, so you have to be considerate of that person. Don't get mad, don't get angry. So this is a stressful time for some people. So just remember that, step back and remember that person probably needs some help. So have a good, and Counselor Lauder was going to make a comment, but Mark touched on it. It's been very difficult. I don't want to make you cry, but it's been very hard.
Thank you. How do you follow up with that? First off, congratulations to your father. Please pass that along. He has had a long career and of course done a lot for the city along the way. So we certainly cannot forget that. Councillor Lauder, our thoughts and prayers have been with you all week, and please give John a big hug for us all as well and continue to be here if there's anything we can do. Okay. From there, my daughter popped in this afternoon and it was the cutest thing ever. If you know a 19-year-old these days, you know, you just love spending some time, but she popped in today and made me realize it's been 1 month today since we've been sworn in as a council. 1 month today already. And I gotta say, and I've said it already tonight, but I am very proud of us. Where we've started to where we are tonight, I'm not sure if you realize this, but we have come a long ways in a very short period of time. I'm very encouraged. We will continue to work together. We will not agree with each other all the time. Don't get me wrong, this is not pretending. We don't want to. But when we sit, we've just proved when we sit and we listen to everyone involved, including stakeholders, there will be a resolution that is good for everybody here in this room, for city staff, but more importantly, for the general public. So from my family to yours, I wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas, a happy holidays. However you celebrate your holiday season, please enjoy it with your family. Okay, family is key. We are a family here in the city hall. I encourage you to remember that every single time we come in here and we have a discussion. We will work together. We will disagree some days, but that is okay. At the end of the day, if it's better for the public, we've done the right thing. So, I'll stop there with before I have anything. Everybody knows me. I am an emotional guy. My daughter got me this afternoon. Let me tell you, she got me good and showed me some pictures of that night, and it was special. So please shop local, buy local. Let's continue to love local. These are our neighbors. These are our friends. This is what makes us Woodstock. Please continue to do that. Spend our hard-earned dollars here. A lot of companies have gone through some tough times. Let's recognize them by spending wherever we can. With that, I'm going to call for an adjournment. Councillor Wheaton, second by Councillor Leatherborough. All those in favor? Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. And we'll see you in the new year.